excited today, so much so that we're wearing our Christmas sweaters to talk to you about handling holiday objections.
Yep, I have on a really gross old, like not gross dirty, but gross like who actually ever wore this Christmas sweater. So we did that for you guys. You're welcome.
Getting in
So
the spirit.
today, we're going to talk about holiday objection overcomers. And I already see a lot of you are typing into the chat box. So do that because we do want to customize this to those of you that are here on the webinar live. And there's about 500 of you from what I understand, which is awesome. And
Yeah.
that tells me this is a hot topic. So before we go further, did you want to say something, Katie?
Yeah, I was going to say, really, before we dive into the specific objections, I think it's really important that we focus on our mindset around the holidays. I know that a number of us walk into this with a really negative mindset, thinking people just aren't going to list with us or aren't going to meet and want to do anything or make any decisions right now. And it's really easy for us to check out. I mean, there's just pumpkin spice lattes at every Starbucks that are calling our names. I know this, but I wanted to share with you guys a really quick story from one of my clients who just put 10 listings under contract in the last 2 weeks. And on our call, she said, yeah, I'm super excited about it. I mean, this is great traction, but I'm just nervous because I have, no inventory now. And we discussed how she's going to use that in her calls to her coming soon clients and to her nurtures. All the people that are dragging their feet right now from coming on the market are now going to be delivered a message that says, hey, if you are waiting until later, let me tell you about the activity I've seen and the lack of inventory in this market and why I think your house would do really well right now. So just so that you hear this message, it is not always the slow time of year. There are still buyers that need to buy a house, and inventory is probably at an all-time low.
Yeah.
So, and also the nice thing too about the holidays is typically people are nicer, so it can be more fun to make these calls.
Yeah, and the houses look better. So that's one thing. Sometimes people will say, I want to wait till after the holidays because my house is all decorated or whatever. And actually, we find that houses show better that way because it's more homey, right? It's more welcoming. It usually smells like Christmas. It just looks better. And so it actually enables people to envision themselves living in that house when it's decorated that way. So it can actually be a benefit that the house is kind of torn apart for the holidays.
Right.
And I just want to say, Katie hasn't said this about herself, but sometimes it helps to know the track record of the person you're learning from because it can give some merit. So Katie, tell them how many homes you sold your very first year in real estate. It's a big number.
So my very first year, I came in as a listing specialist for the Heil Group team here in Austin, Texas with Tim Heil. And I worked 95% of my listings came from the expired for sale by owner market. And I sold and closed 144 listings in my very first year in real estate. So it's kind of my passion now, listings especially. I have a special place in my heart. And then those pesky expired for sale by owners, I've just grown to love them over time.
Yeah. Same way. I actually just hung up from a coaching call where they're avoiding expired and FSBO because they're afraid of them. And, they said it's really competitive. And I kind of feel like you, Katie, like they're my absolute favorite actually, because they are a bit of a challenge and it's kind of fun. So anyway, just putting that out there. Also, your mindset is huge. I'm glad you said that, Katie. If you go into the holidays thinking it will be slow, then it will be slow. It'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have to say thank you to Haro, my team leader when I started the Haro group here in Greenville, South Carolina. He told me, he's like, it's going to be just as busy as the rest of the year. And he helped put that in my mindset. In my first year as an ISA, inside sales agent, I found that I had just as many appointments set as I did in August. And August had previously been my record month. And so it was proof to me, what he said is December was just as big as August. And I would have never expected that going into it. So a lot of it is your mindset. And I'm glad he set me straight. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some of the things in the chat box. And we know that some people say, Vivian said, I haven't expired. Holiday season, I'm going to wait till the spring. So Katie, I'll let you handle that in 1 second. Okay. The first thing I want to say is whenever people give you an objection, you don't want to knee jerk with a one-liner. You want to actually ask them, tell me what's important to you about waiting till spring or whatever they just told you, because that will give a clue. If they're saying, I want to wait till the spring and you're assuming it's because the holidays, what if it's because they're having knee replacement surgery, right? So you always want to ask before you start answering it. You want to ask, tell me what's important to you about that, or what makes that a factor in your decision for when you list or buy a house. So go further. So Katie, if they say it really is the holidays, I've got family coming into town, it's just hectic, what are some good ways to overcome that objection?
Okay, so I just really want to go from there and isolate it further. And I say, okay, so when you're telling me that you have family coming in, do you have set dates for that family? Or tell me a little bit more about what the schedule's looking like, right? So I'll just pretend like you're the person, right? So you tell me what your schedule's like.
Well, I've got family coming in the week of Thanksgiving, and then I'm also hosting Christmas. And so after Thanksgiving, I got to decorate, and then people will be here from like the 20th until really through New Year, just in and out.
Okay, so it sounds like you're going to have a lot of people coming in and out of the house, and you want the freedom and flexibility to basically spend time with your family and not be interrupted by potential buyers. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just don't want to have to deal with keeping the house spick and span or having it interrupt a family meal because someone wants to see the house.
Okay. And what if I told you that we could customize your showing so that your house wouldn't be available to be shown during those specific times, and give you built-in time frame there to make sure that you have plenty of time to get the house back in order to however you see fit? Would that be something that would work for you?
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. So you're saying that I can block off dates basically? Or time.
Absolutely. So we can go in and customize your listing to showcase that it's only available for preview during certain days of the week, certain times of the day, and get really detailed. In fact, we can have all the buyers come directly through us where we vet them first and really make sure that it's in alignment with your schedule so that you actually aren't put out at all.
Okay. Yeah.
How does that sound?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, then it sounds, okay, sorry. I was going to call you for an appointment, but
I'll go for it.
But it sounds like we should meet. Which day works best for you, weekdays or weekends? So just do an alternative choice close.
Yeah, weekdays are usually better for me.
Okay, great. Mornings or afternoons?
Usually like mid-afternoon.
Okay, so how about Tuesday at 2 or Wednesday at 1:30?
I could do Wednesday at 1:30.
Perfect. All right. Well, then I'm going to, and then everybody knows how we close that out, right? Yeah. Sending you a confirmation. Here's my information. Here's pre-listing packet, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then typically from here, if I haven't already pre-qualified them, I'd go into pre-qualifying. People do this a little differently. I find some people pre-qualify heavy up front and set the appointment. I'm a very impatient person. So I like to go for the appointment set. And then once I have it set, say, okay, great. Well, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions to make sure I'm best prepared for appointment on Wednesday at 1:30. And that's when I would run through the whole rigmarole of the pre-qual.
Yeah, that's great. And we're not doing a pre-qual thing today. However, I'm going to share screen right now because you're probably, if you're listening to Katie and thinking, I don't do that, how do I do that? Let me show you some resources where you can find that real quick. I'm just going to share screen. If you go to isamapscoaching.com and then go to the webinars tab, you'll see a lot of Katie and I on here. So, sometimes Annalisa, and it's taking a minute to load, but webinar after webinar after webinar about how to set up listings, how to pre-qual people. So you can check that out. So again, isamapscoaching.com and then the webinars tab. And you can find some of that back there. But what Katie said, it's really education, right? So if you think about it, everybody write this down. Objections are it's one of two things, and that's it. It might sound like a lot of different things, but it's always one of these two things. It's either a lack of education. So maybe they're really, really motivated, but they don't know that they can work showings around their schedule, or they think they needed a bigger down payment than they really do. Okay, it could be any of those. So it's either a lack of education or a lack of motivation. Okay, and sometimes there's legit stuff like they got to get their credit repaired and all that. But many times it's going to be a lack of education if they are truly motivated. Some type of solution that they just didn't know existed. So that's what you want to listen for. Why do you think it's better to wait till spring? And as they tell you, be prepared to give the education piece that would overcome that.
So just if you're thinking on a big scale, like how Anna's laying this out, the best thing you can do to overcome objections is to ask questions. Yeah. Identify what the true objection is, isolate it, and then handle it. The challenge I think a lot of us feel is we start sweating in our armpits the minute people start saying something that sounds like no to us. and we're like, oh my God, this is rejection. This is terrible. And I just want to spew lines that I've heard on a coaching call and just talk at them.
Yeah.
But if you can center yourself for a moment and rebound, and the way I do it personally, whenever I start to feel like I'm losing my frame of thought here, is I say, tell me more about that, or what to you is most important about that situation. And I take a deep breath and I engage in more active listening. So really a lot of handling objections well is in alignment with how well you listen and ask questions to truly understand their frame of thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's also hit the question of, well, I want to wait till spring because that's really when the market is hot. So I think that would give a better chance for my house to actually sell. And so I'll speak to that, and then Katie, pass it back to you. But the thing is, and here's how you can word that. So Katie, if you could just be the skeptical seller.
Sure.
So Katie, let me ask you a question. If you are waiting till spring, and many other people are waiting till spring to list their house, what will that do for you from a competition standpoint? You and everyone else is going to list in the spring.
Well, I mean, I guess I would just be in competition with all of them, right?
Yeah. So can you see how if you chose to list now, there would actually be less competition? There won't be as many houses listed because a lot of people are thinking, wait till spring. And that means your house will actually have a higher chance of earning more money because there won't be as many other houses listed.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess that makes sense now that yeah, because if I list now and you're saying that there aren't a lot of houses right now, so I wouldn't have as much competition, well, then I guess that makes more sense to me. But why is it that I've always heard the springtime's the best time then?
Yeah, because it's perception, right? It's best time depending on what you want or need, right? So if you're wanting to earn the most amount of money for your house and also have less showings, people that are out shopping right now are serious, right? Like who is shopping for a house in November and December?
Right.
Serious people.
Yeah.
You usually have less showings and you also have less competition, which can help you earn the price that you want. They don't have endless houses to choose from. They have a select group and that can help you earn more money.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. It's interesting.
Cool. And then you would go on from there, ask some questions and potentially set that appointment.
Yeah.
So Katie, what else do you have to add to that from your perspective?
So one thing I would add to that is whenever I hear people tell me, well, I've always heard springtime is the best time, what they are often confusing that with is the number of homes that sold. Typically, we see more homes sell volume-wise, number of homes sell in the spring and summer, but that doesn't mean that has anything to do with the price point at which they sell. Does that make sense?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So I often find that people, once you kind of dig into it deeper, they're like, well, I've always heard that they always do better. Why is that? Or I don't understand. And go, well, yeah, that's a very common perception. And it's based on the fact that that's the highest number of sales. But when you think about it from another perspective, that means you have the most amount of competition because that's when everybody's coming on the market.
Yeah.
And you see how by listing at a time in which there's less inventory, but still high buyer demand would be even more advantageous to you since price is important.
Yeah. Absolutely. That makes sense. I don't want as many people competing against me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another common thing. Okay, so keep going. Sorry. I was going on a tangent.
No, keep going.
Well, I was going to say too, at this time of the year, there are going to be some people that also have legitimate reasons for not getting together. I'm going to be in Europe visiting my family in December for the holidays. Like, you're not overcoming that. We're not pulling them out of Nice, France.
Your Europe trip, okay? How serious are you?
Right. So it's like they want to sell in the spring. That's what they've timelined for, and that's okay. Yeah. If you can't convert everybody because they're going out of town for the holidays, it's not the end of the world. But what I would really push for is to have an appointment now so we can sign paperwork so that once the spring comes, we can launch. Okay. Now, for some of you who are hearing this, you're thinking, well, that's just not feasible in my market. As soon as we take a listing, we have to sell it or something like that. Talk to your broker. What I will say here in the state of Texas that I know for a fact is that our listing agreements are not promulgated by our real estate commission like our contracts are, and we have a lot of freedom to alter them. So here in Texas, we often put that we will not put your house on the market until you authorize us to do so, and it's fine in the special provisions. But the pitch I have for bringing people in is, it sounds like, things are going to be hectic for you later this coming in the coming months. You're going to whatever's happening, but you're going to be ready to hit the ground running in spring. So why don't we do this? Why don't we get together so I can give you more information? That way you become an educated seller and you have more time to make decisions, as opposed to what I run into a lot, which are emotional clients who have to go right now and need to make a decision ASAP. That way I can give you more information, talk to you about the inventory, the pricing, what the market's doing, so you feel 100% comfortable and confident with whatever decision you make. Fair enough? And you just tie it down. So I would still be trying to pull in nurtures to meet with, or at the very minimum, stacking my nurture pipeline, right? Nurture is somebody that's interested in selling, is motivated to sell, doing so in the next 12 months, isn't working with an agent, tells you when to call them, and gives you all their contact information. So to me, that's a huge win as well, is pulling in nurtures that I'm setting appointments for, either in this Q4 or for Q1, but I want to pull them in ASAP and get them locked up.
Yeah, well, and you can, and again, it can depend on your state, so just check with your broker.
Right.
But a great way for this too, if they're saying I'm hectic and that's part of the challenge, is to actually use that to say, well, actually, that's why it makes sense to meet now, because you are hectic. Wouldn't it be nice to have a couple months to get your house ready instead of waiting to meet us until the very end? By meeting, we can start working on the game plan and checklist to get your house ready. Also, sometimes people I found were a little freaked out about meeting because they thought it meant we were listing their house tomorrow. So you can let them know, hey, we're meeting to make a game plan. It does not mean that we're listing your house tomorrow. And again, check with your state about all the rules surrounding that. But it doesn't mean we're listing your house tomorrow. What it means is we're meeting to make a game plan. And that often can get someone that's on the fence to go ahead and agree to meet with you. Another common holiday objection is, I don't want to close until after the holidays. That's just too much going on. And a good solution for that is to let them, well, first ask why, right? So get the clarity. But if it's just too much going on and I want to wait, I don't want to close or think about moving, is you can negotiate the closing date in the contract negotiations. So honestly, even if they listed now, it usually, with the amount of time it takes to close, you might be out after the holidays anyway at this point, depending on where you live. But you can let them know we can negotiate the closing date in that contract conversation. So you really choose the closing date as part of one of the parties in the transaction. So we can work around that. Again, it's an education piece.
I'm just smiling because this house that I'm streaming from that I bought, I purchased it in November, I want to say, maybe end of October. And I gave the seller of this house a 6-week lease back so that they could spend Christmas here.
Oh, there you go.
Great example. So yeah,
nice. Look at
perfect example. I'm like thinking, which clients have had some closings in the holidays? I'm like, oh, this one right here. Why didn't I think about it?
It's me. That's really funny. Awesome. I'm reading the chat box to see what other objections. So Katie, while I scour the box, what other objections come to mind that you want to run through while I check out the box?
So, a lot of people get tied up on time constraints. A lot of people get tied up on the value piece. What I'll say to that is we have run the numbers on our team historically, and we don't show that people are getting less for their home in the winter months. We show that there are just fewer houses selling. So again, arm yourself with that information. You are not just, somebody that slangs contracts at people and sets appointments. Essentially, get that clarity from the agents on your team. If you are an agent on the team, be that expert in the market to know that information. You can just look at it historically as well. But in our market, we don't show a decline in price value. We more so just show a decline in number of homes sold. And it's very easy for consumers to get that confused. So again, that just goes back to education. I can't stress it enough to caution you, because even as we're spitting out objections, I'm like, oh, here's how I'd handle it. And I'm even in this webinar skipping the question asking phase because I want to get you guys content. But again, it's not going to do you any good to handle an objection that they don't actually have. To say, oh, well, you actually make more money now, if then you find out, well, I'm just stressed out about family coming into town. Yeah. So I can't stress that enough to dig in deeper. And if you're just starting out, it's going to be a skill that you have to work at. And what happens is you get really good at it, and you're just like asking questions. And then what I find happens is you get so good at it that you assume you know what they're going to say. So you kind of stop asking questions, and then you miss something. So for those of you on this that have the experience already, remember we have to slow down.
Yeah.
And really ask the objection.
Let's get some interaction going. So to that point, Katie, I want to ask you guys in the group, everybody get ready to type in. If I said to you, I want to wait until March to list my house, and I'm specific about March, type into the chat box, what is your assumption? Just from my statement, I want to wait till March to list this house. And this will help prove the point of all the different thoughts that can be out there. So we'll wait a second for that to come in. While you guys are typing in, I want to show you a resource real quick. So we're going to go back to isamapscoaching.com. And someone typed in and said, will there be a replay? Because this is moving really fast. So first of all, there will be a replay. It'll be housed right here, isamapscoaching.com webinar tab. Here's the other thing, resources. Check out the resources tab on isamapscoaching.com. There's several resources here. You can check those out. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, check out this beautiful thing right here. ISA Maps Coaching Holiday Scripts. It's beautiful. You can hit download free scripts, and you'll get, it's several pages actually of what's the way to overcome the various scenarios. We don't have time to get into all of it on this webinar, but that pamphlet right there will give you all the things we didn't have time for today. Okay, so in the chat box, I said, I want to wait till March. And we had, here's what came in. Spring is best. Maybe it's pricing. Maybe it's market stigma. They think spring is the best time. March will allow me to close at the end of the school year. Maybe it's a weather thing. Maybe I'm renting something until March, and so I don't want to break my lease in order to buy a house. My job starts in April. So can you guys see how just from that chat box, whoa, lots of different assumptions. One that wasn't mentioned is maybe we think it has something to do with down payment. Maybe I think I need to save up a certain amount for my next house, and I need a couple more months to get that money in the bank. So I'll wait till March. So again, you just have to ask what's important to you about waiting until that time frame. And then that will give you some direction.
I'll tell you this, guys, from my experience as well, a lot of these holiday objections we're getting aren't really holiday objections. Meaning I've talked to numerous people that are like, I just can't think about it right now. I'm super busy. Can you call me back later? And really, when I dig in with them, it's more along those lines of, well, I'm waiting until this time for school or whatever else. But they're using the busyness of the holidays as not right now, I can't talk to you, bye. Yeah. It's really not a holiday objection if you think about it. The reason they're waiting for March is because of the school district or the school starting. Yeah. But in this moment on the phone to end this conversation, she's blaming it on the holidays because she's just pulled in a different direction right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. That's a really good point, Katie. And I give merit to what you're saying because you've worked with so many sellers. So listen to her. Listen to the woman. 144 homes first year. So, but that's a great point. And one thing we haven't mentioned yet, it's vital, and we have talked about this in past webinars, is make sure you know their motivation. So when you know someone's motivation, it can help you then overcome these objections. So if someone had just told me, well, I want to sell my house because I desire to move to Washington State. That's where my family lives. I love the outdoor lifestyle there. I just really want to get to Washington State to be near my family. But I want to wait until April. You can ask, well, you mentioned to me blank. So this would be what you could write down. You mentioned to me, and then motivation. You mentioned to me, Katie, that you really wanted to move to Washington State to be near your family.
I do. I love them.
Yeah, absolutely. And enjoy all those outdoor things. Yeah, I'm hearing you say that you want to wait till April. So basically, I've just put her motivation back front and center and reminded her because we get busy and we forget. I bet all of you on this webinar have something that you've wanted to do and it keeps getting pushed down on the to-do list, right? All of us.
Yes.
Maybe it's joining the gym. Maybe it's painting the whatever room. But we push it down because other stuff gets busy. And that can happen. So we need to remind them. So why did you want to move? Okay. Well, then how does it benefit you to wait until April? write that question down. How does it benefit you to wait until blank? Sometimes they really struggle to come up with an answer, and there you go. I guess it doesn't benefit. I can't think of anything that it benefits me to wait until spring.
What I love is when they recognize that and they laugh at themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I guess there is no reason. Crap. Oh man, I need to do this, don't I? Okay. Yeah. Tell me more.
Where that came from? I was on a sales team and we were all talking about joining the gym together. This was in like 2006 and it stuck with me. And
if you keep this up, Anna, I'm probably going to go start cleaning out my closet that I've been cleaning off for forever.
Yeah. So we go to the gym, talk about joining the gym together. And the guy, we were like, well, we just want to think about it. And he goes, well, how will it benefit you to not join the gym? And we legit were like, and we joined the gym. So that's where that came from, is it's hard to answer that if it's just a meaningless excuse or a push off.
Right.
Oh, hey, Matt Berry. Yeah, go 3 deep. Look in the chat box. So what's important to you about waiting? Find out more about that. Okay, so this was a relatively quick webinar. We wanted to give you what we could in the time we had. Remember, go to isamapscoaching.com, go to the resources tab and scroll all the way to the bottom. So resources, all the way down here, holiday objection handlers. And by the way, check out what else is in here. There's some other cool stuff.
And you guys, I saw the expired objections. You have my heart because I just want to jump on these. Here's the deal. We wanted this to focus on the holiday objections since this is what the webinar was marketed as. Go to our website, click on that link, talk to a coach. We will set up a free 30-minute session with any one of our coaches, and we can help you with any of these objections that we didn't get to that fall outside of that parameter. And then there's more resources like Anna was showing you as well. So just know that I see you and I hear you and I want to help you.
And I feel your pain.
Yeah.
So talk to a coach. Yeah. I mean, this is what we're passionate about. There's other jobs that are a lot easier than being a coach. And part of why we do this, and there's Annalisa, there's Alana, other coaches that you don't see on the screen right now. And our passion is to help you hit your goal and to talk about these various topics. So check out that talk to a coach button. We'll ask you some questions before the call to make sure that we're on the same page with what you're looking for. And then we'll go from there. Oh, also there's a Facebook group. It just was put into the chat box. You can check it out. ISA Mastermind group. I'll show it to you real quick and then I'm going to hop off. Let me share screen again. Don't get distracted by my Facebook. This is a dangerous decision right now. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so Facebook, go right here. There's a group called ISA Mastermind Group. It's moving real slow, probably because I'm in this webinar right now. But if you just search ISA Mastermind Group, this is what it looks like. And I am really strict with who's in the group. I had marketing people attempt to get in today and I denied it because I want to keep it a pure group for you guys where it's truly a mastermind group. So when you go to join, there will be a list of questions. Make sure you answer the questions and then we'll go ahead and approve you into the group.
Yeah, those of you looking for a script partner, this is a great platform for that.
Yep. Oh, here's our post about our holiday sweater webinar today. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks for joining us today. And share this with anybody you know that needs it. Again, it'll be under the webinar tab, usually by the next day within 24 hours.
Yep.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.